South Sudan's President Salva Kiir says his government accepts the blame for the slow implementation of the country's peace deal.
I accepted it because the government did not honor its pledge to pay the remaining part of the $100 million to the National Pre-Transitional Period Committee for the implementation of the agreement.
President Kiir now says government is in the process of releasing all the funds it earmarked for the peace deal implementation. Opposition leader Riek Machar wants the government to use the $100 million it pledged to purchase supplies and provide training for soldiers who are in camps. He is also demanding security sector reforms and a reduction of the number of states from 32 to 10 before a unity government is formed. South Sudanese people and civil society groups hope the delay will be enough to allow the two sides to reach an agreement.
We are not simply saying that that extension will result to implementation of all the provisions, the security issues, the states, the unified forces, and so on. But we feel that it is adequate enough to generate momentum for the parties to sit and reasonably move towards putting in place the benchmarks that would enable all the opposition groups be part of the government, that will enable Machar to come to Juba.
What just happened is like a gift to the people of South Sudan, that they want to make sure that the country doesn't go back to war.
The new government is now scheduled to be formed on February 22, 2020. The United Nations is calling on all parties to work with renewed urgency and resolve all the outstanding issues within the scheduled 100 days.
The UK is South Africa's fourth largest trading partner. Exports to the UK since January this year totaled over $3 billion. Over 175,000 jobs have been created through this partnership. This is why South Africa wasted no time in securing itself. It started trade negotiations months after Brexit became a reality.
Rollover trade agreements have been signed to ensure that the current trade terms that South Africa has with the EU would then apply to trade with the UK. All of the items such as motor vehicles and primary goods that are exported to the UK continue to be traded tariff-free and at the same rates.
A few weeks ago, South Africa and its neighbours officially signed a deal to ensure that trade will continue as per normal no matter what transpires. But the health of the UK is also important to South Africa. That economy is under pressure. The weaker pound has pushed up inflation, making goods more expensive. Any more economic strain could limit the UK's buying power.
South Africa is good for now. It's also well positioned for the trade negotiations that will come after the UK finally leaves the EU.
There are still some products that are traded between South Africa and the UK that rely on quite complex global supply chains, and there is uncertainty there until we see what the deal looks like between the UK and the EU. Of course, what we all often sometimes forget about Brexit is that this is just really the first step in the process of divorce, if you like. So when the initial separation agreement takes place between the UK and the EU, there will still be many years of negotiations ahead to structure what the new partnership looks like.
It gives African countries an opportunity to then come up with new terms for trade with the UK, and this is where ourselves as Siaka Africa actually play a key role. To match investors to the appropriate investments, we identify investments within the Africa space. If you look at the African economy, we're looking at a 1.25 billion population, which equates to about $3 trillion worth of potential trade that can actually happen. So, there are a lot of great opportunities.
Which is exactly what former British Prime Minister Theresa May did when she visited Africa and other regions. She discussed new partnerships and strengthened the ongoing ones to make sure that there would be other relationships outside of the European Union.
Lonely Planet has selected the top 10 countries, regions, towns and tourist destinations in the world to explore in 2020. The National Office of the Tunisian Tourism explains that Tunisia has been able to show its true potential as a distinguished tourist destination. The Tourism Ministry has recorded so far more than 25 million overnight stays nationwide.
This ranking is the result of several reforms which kicked off in 2015. The promotion and marketing of Tunisia as an exceptional tourist destination was made gradually. Tunisia has restored the confidence of tour operators, airlines and tourists in our market.
The Ministry of Tourism and private sector professionals have highlighted the country's rich nature, culture, history and ancient monuments. Tunisia has attracted millions of tourists who are looking for a unique North African and Mediterranean experience.
Tunisia looks small, but in reality, the tourism package is very diversified. Tunisia is rich in natural beauty, beaches, forests and mountains in the north to the desert in the south. Tunisia can welcome tourists at any period of the year for cultural tourism and other activities.
As part of security tightening efforts, the Ministries of the Interior and Tourism implemented a protocol requiring hotels to comply with international safety standards. Travel2Do is one of the leading online travel agencies in the region. Its CEO says security in Tunisia is an important argument.
A few years ago, the country was deserted by tourists. Now ranking 7th is an extraordinary boost to the sector. The authorities have implemented extra security measures to guarantee the safety and well-being of tourists.
Tunisia has welcomed 7.5 million tourists since the beginning of the year, an increase of 14.8% compared to the same period last year. The tourism revenues jumped by over 41% to reach around $1.62 billion.
For Joan Narubiga, the fight against malaria is personal. A survivor of the deadly disease at the tender age of 6, Joan is preparing a potential life-saving solution.
When I grew up and I tried to search about the malaria cases because I was interested due to the trauma that it had caused me when I was little, I found out that more than 10,500 Ugandans die from malaria every single year, and mostly are the children below the age of 5. So I tried to talk to different people in the communities to try and understand what they're doing about malaria, and I discovered that still, for decades, we've all been using only mosquito nets, yet there are repellents, other interventions on the market which are not accessible to the people that are mostly actually affected by malaria.
The repellent is made of essential oils extracted from herbs. They include lemongrass, which produces a scent that mosquitoes hate. Joan says it is effective for 5 to 6 hours after bath.
We want people to use it from maybe 5 or 4 until maybe 10 when they go to bed, because this is the time, the gap when they are not protected. That's the gap that we want to fill as Ugandans for the people in the communities.
On average, Joan produces about 3,000 mosquito repellent soap every week. She says this product is helping reduce on malaria cases in this community. The recent prolonged rains have provided breeding grounds for mosquitoes that transmit the disease from one person to another. Uganda's health ministry is now upbeat about this initiative.
If you really get a product that is natural, purely safe, but it's going to intervene or contribute to elimination of malaria, to me that's a great success.
And the feedback from the community has been positive.
The soap is protecting us. My children no longer fall sick, as was the case in the past.
Joan's repellent soap costs $4 for the high-end market. But to make it affordable to the low-income earners, she sells it at a subsidized price of 68 cents. Joan hopes that this will be an affordable solution to keep the killer disease at bay.